Go. Hey everyone, welcome. We are now on here back. Fix it. We are now in the very first episode of a new show called Lines on Paper. And basically the whole point of this is that I am basically going to be kind of doing like a poor man's Bob Ross kind of situation. Um, where basically I am going to be doing a specific drawing right here, right in front of you, with this nice little drawing camera. You can see my hands. And yay, okay. I'm so completely new to all this, so you're going to have to forgive me because I'm trying to understand how to do like half of this crap. Crash course, and all of you are with me. So before I do anything, I just want to quickly let you guys know that all the materials that I'm using specifically for this show are listed in the chat, supposedly. And I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping as far as just like all the different shows and things that are going on right now. So on Mondays, we're going to be doing Lines of Paper with me. On Tuesdays, it's going to be the live unboxing with Kalisa and Mike. And on Thursdays is going to be Shop Talk with the owner, Josh Olive, with Alan Breedlove. And then Sunday nights is the Haven Comics Blurred Syndicate team up with the Drink and Draw with Wyatt and Jeremy. So, try and remember all of that and get it right the first time around. We're good. So, today, because Rings of Power is going to be, if it hasn't already come out, then it's about to come out right now. Wanted to do something Lord of Rings related with Galadriel. If you don't know who the character Galadriel is, she is basically one of the three elves that holds three of the Rings of Power, I believe, if I remember all that correctly. And looks like we've got some people in the chat. And here's Tots. Hey guys. All right. And let's see. And oh yeah. So we're going to do a couple little quick things. Remember to like and subscribe if you happen to like this show. And if you want to follow me as far as social media is concerned, you can like and follow me through Linktree, T-Price Artworks. Well, it's supposed to be linktree.com, T-Price Artworks. Anyways, got all that nonsense out of the way. Let's get to it, shall we? So we're going to be doing first quick pencil sketch. And normally, you'll see right here with the drawing cam, I use a Staedtler non-photo blue pencil for all of the stuff to like the sketch with, but we're not using that right now, so that you guys are going to be able to see exactly what's going on. And we're going to be using this Faber-Castell HB pencil and darken up this a little bit with the 2B Faber-Castell pencil. All right, so I'd like to start things off first by kind of getting an idea of the character. We've got Galadriel. She's friends through loyalty. She is kind of a good witch, if you want to call her that. Yeah. And we are, go ahead and do this real quick. So, funny thing is that whenever I'm drawing ahead, I don't always, do like a circle like that. It's more of a rounded rectangle thing. And there is something interesting that I've kind of figured out as of late when doing ears and in relation to like the rest of the head. I'm going to close up this camera just real quick. So I'm going to use this pencil as kind of a guideline. So the interesting thing is that when you're looking at a pencil, sorry, not pencil, when you're looking at drawing an ear with your pencil, it's interesting because if you think about it, the top part of the ear matches right about where the eyebrow is going to be. So if we're thinking about like XY axis kind of situation, um, so this is your Y axis. There's going to be 3 different X axes. So the first one is going to be right here, which is going to dictate where the eye is going to be, and that's going to be from the top part of the ear to the eye. Second part is going to be at the bottom part of the ear, which leads up to where the nose is going to be. And then the last one should be right where the mouth is. So, since Galadriel has pointy ears because she's an elf, we're going to say that this top part is going to be about right here. Let's lift up that ear just a bit. So yeah, this is where the nose is going to be, and then the last part is going to be here. Boom. You basically have the XY axis of the face of an elf. So, that being said, let's say the neck is going to be right here. And we're going to do kind of like a 3/4 profile. So, if you're looking at me right now with the main camera right now, you're basically seeing me at a 3/4 position when I'm not slouched. So, you're looking at me like this, you're basically seeing 3/4 of my body as of right now. So we're going to be doing the same thing here with this piece of paper. Zooming out just a little bit. And if you guys have any questions, want to talk about, your favorite thing involving, Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, drawing, whatever, just go ahead and pop that down in the chats, and I will try to communicate with you guys as much as possible. So, I'm going to say body's about right there. Shoulder is going to be about here. Bicep, tricep. And so we're going to make sure that in order for this thing to really work, it's magic. See what I did there? Fancy reference. We're going to do kind of a border situation right here. Now we're going to get to the nitty gritty of the details. I might have to go back and forth as far as just looking at the actual reference of the character by the particularly great actress Kate Blanchett. There's been some talk in terms of like, the references and art. References aren't bad. I think the issue is when people were starting off trying to do artwork and teaching you or whatever, they and of course this is pre-internet, um, which is the whole thing involving where real artists doesn't use reference. They use memory and draw from life, which is true. And hey, Doug, yes. Just to let you know, I am using an HB pencil, so it's probably not coming through. But don't worry, I'm going to be hitting it with a darker lead soon. I'm just trying to get the layout real quick. And anyways, so yeah, it was just a whole thing, went on for a long time in terms of real artists don't use references. Well, you know what? Uh, there is nothing wrong with using a reference whatsoever. If you don't know how to draw it, I would rather a person use a reference than draw something and just completely botch it. Case in point, if you ever look at medieval artwork and when you're trying to draw animals, man, it's pure meme fuel. It's also pretty derpy as well. Let's see here. Justin Butler going to special screening at the premiere next Wednesday. Got offered the summer free, almost couldn't get a spot. That's interesting. That's also pretty cool too. Which I could do free screenings. All right. Remember correctly, she's got some pretty high eyebrow purchasing. Where she's got hair parted here. Hair for days. Might have to hold on. Yes. So I'm going to hit it with some darker lead. Go. So Lord of the Rings has done a huge thing as far as just influencing a lot in media. Uh, it's absolutely bonkers just how much it's made an influence from music, uh, you know Led Zeppelin. I'm pretty sure there's probably about what, 3 songs that use references to Lord of the Rings. Uh, Most infamously, the song "Ramble On," and of course you've got the influence that hits the most infamous game of all, Dungeons and Dragons. There's other influences, media, and the weird part is that not a lot of people remember that uh, there's actually an animated Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films done by a company called Rankin Bass. And you may not realize this, but if I remember correctly, Rankin Bass was owned by Disney at some point. So we could argue and say that Lady Galadriel was the Disney princess, but you didn't. All right. We got some more people talking. Hey, Daniel, what's up? David McDonald said true. I'm not sure exactly what he said true about, but yes. Justin Butler chiming in. Movies probably my favorite movies. Probably listening to the books. Classic Hobbit was my gateway to Tolkien. If you ever get a chance to listen to the Andy Serkis audiobook, uh, or sorry, Andy Serkis doing the entirety of Lord of the Rings as an audiobook, you need to get on that. Some good stuff. All right, so I'm going to so I know that a lot of the stuff that we do with Haven, as far as our live stream stuff is concerned, excuse me, gets a little long-winded. So I'm trying to speed this up as quick as possible so that I'm not shooting the breeze about whatever, because everyone's got things to do. I want to make sure that everyone's getting their time in. Let's see. Crash 5784. No idea who you are, but thank you for chiming in. Are you using any reference image or anything like that for inspiration or going off the top of your head? I am actually going back and forth between the actual photo of Kate Blanchett, but of course I'm drawing it in my style. So I am going to have to do a lot more clicking when it gets to the tiara thing that she wears, because it's very ornate. Which actually leads to another good part, is the difference between inspiration versus imitation. And everyone could be, or sorry, no, not really so much inspiration versus imitation, it's innovation versus imitation. There's a lot of people that are inspired by a lot of stuff. And the problem is that they want to imitate. And, we kind of do live in a bit of society that kind of does a lot of monkey see, monkey do. And there's nothing wrong with having, inspirations. Everyone's inspired by something. But the issue is, sorry about that, guys, or girls, or whatever you identify as, be popsicle. It's a Fifth Element reference. Said there is, there's nothing wrong with having, influences that inspire you to do things that you do, and whatever your respective fields, art, science, philosophy, what have you. So, there's absolutely nothing wrong whatsoever. Problem is that there's just a lot of imitation that goes on. And because there's a lot of imitation that goes on, there's nothing really innovative that happens. And because there's not that kind of thing going on, then And it leads into a lot of problems, and this is where you get into situations like, people that are able to do, uh, you know, cloning the styles, point for point. Uh, it's kind of like that massive influx of Instagram profiles where they were all basically drawing like super well detailed uh, drawings of like DBZ. And, that's great, if you like sort of thing, but it's not innovative. It's been done before more than anyone cared for. So, how do we deal with that? Well, I use this little thing a lot in terms of uh, looking at inspiration, trying to be innovative with it. Like, um, uh, it sounds really dumb, but it's basically using rockets. Um, you're the things that you're looking at in terms of your inspiration or your references, or that should be your launch pad. It shouldn't be the rocket itself. Um, you use that as your the thing you go for, and you uh, use it as your foundation to work with, but it's not the whole rocket. It's not the whole building that you're uh, you know doing your entire piece with. So that said, I'm also trying to make sure that she doesn't look like Zelda. This is where again, the situations that I think of uh, elves with blonde hair, and the first thing that pops in my head is freaking Zelda. So, all right, ear. So this is where I'm going to have to really hone on to the references part, and it is the um, really ornate, mithril looking, excuse me, tiara thing that she has. So your best friend is going to be an eraser. It doesn't matter what kind of eraser you have, but your best friend when drawing is going to be an eraser. Anyone that says differently is an idiot. Uh, love erasers. And this also leads into another segment in terms of art, the difference between, digital and traditional artists. I mean, there's nothing wrong with either medium. There's some great stuff out there, with both traditional artists and um, visual artists. But the problem is that a lot of and there's like an entire uh, thing that I saw regarding kids growing up using digital software and stuff like that. Um, and it got to a point where kids using uh, art software, and they were handed like a pencil and paper, and it's just like, well, what do I do with this? Create art with it. They're struggling because they were indoctrinated from using tablets and stuff like that ever since they were like a little kid, which and they have never used like actual pencil and paper. If you don't believe me, it exists. This whole thing does exist. Um, and it also leads into another situation where, like, again, kids using like laptops and tablets and stuff like that, and you tell them to sign their name, and you can't read it because it's practically doctor's handwriting, and they can't do cursive, or do fine print. It's absolutely crazy. I think it's a bit of a curve back area. Hardest thing for any person doing any sort of work is determining they can commit to a line. The majority of what I've drawn right now, I've committed to it. It's there. We're already on first and last name basis right now. So it's there. Um, and it's always been a hard thing if you want to try to make everything like, you know, people can be their own worst critics. So, stuff. You know, I've done it myself plenty of times, but I've also found some ways around not overly critical until I start doing machines, and then like I'm hypercritical about what I'm doing. It's like put one line in the wrong place, and your tank looks like a top truck. Oh, all right. And so there, there. This is like a super duper ornate. She's got going on. So check on the chat real quick. And Tots, am I tracing that? No. You want to know why I'm not tracing it? Because there's nothing underneath the trace. Boom. All right. Boo erasers, everything you pen. All right, Doug. Well, whenever you get a handle with that whole brushman situation, we'll get back to that. Here we're still on the page. Hair is so scary to draw, dude. Uh, that used to be my biggest problem for the longest with drawing people was just hair because like I especially when it comes to drawing people with like light colored hair and just trying to render it and you know figuring out where the folds and stuff goes and got to a point where I was just like man I have to I've got to work on this and so I would literally spend uh, hours for you know a week straight drawing nothing but heads with hair and uh, and figured out real quick like how to do uh, hair, strands of hair, different kinds of hair of people of different ethnicities, which also led to drawing different facial structures and uh, exaggerating, you know, butt chins and long noses and furrowed brows and all that sort of stuff. So it's practice makes perfect. Like I really hate saying that, but there is truth to that. It's with everything from drawing to lifting weights to studying for a test, whatever. But yeah, practice makes perfect. Even driving. Looking at you, Madison County. All right. Tom hates tracing paper. You are right. There's a whole story behind that, and I'm going to do that for another time. How do we give you our money? You know what, Daniel? That's a really great question. We've got a couple different ways of doing so. So, and that's going to go back to this. If you type in Linktree slash T Price Artworks, you will find all of my links. And I'm still trying to set up my online shop so that people can buy my stuff through social media. And I will put that, as far as my links are concerned, in the chat real quick. Let's see. So let's just say facebook.com. So there you have it. That is one place you can find me. And there's also going to be a couple different events that I will be at. First one is going to be in Savannah, Georgia at the Savannah Comic Con. And that's going to be on the weekend of September 25th. Then the weekend after that, in October 1st, Lil Mill is having a mini con of some sort, and I'm going to be in the Artist Alley in there. Also with the Last Ronin artist Jason Flowers. He's also got a table there as well. We're not sharing the same table with that separate. But just to let you know that he's also there if you didn't get a chance to meet him at the expo. And then I will also be in the Artist Alley at Baltimore Comic Con on the last weekend of October. And if you're not able to go to either three of those things, you can also find me on Fridays and Sundays at Haven Comics, and you can also buy this little thing. It's my sketchbook called Between the Lines, and it's 40 pages in a basically floppy, thing. And I've got them for sale in Haven Comics in Madison on Slaughter Road. And I will put down there you have it, right there. Right. Random Facebook user, what's going on, Tom? Well, random Facebook user, not much is going on. But let's get back to this. So, but yeah, hair for the longest time just tripped me up way too much. And get back to that. Got a commission through Izzy's. Awesome. Were you the one that did Divinity, or were you the one that did the Broken Gambit, or were you Mystique? There were so many things going on that day at Izzy's, which was super awesome. Shout out to Tim at Izzy Comics in Northport. But yeah, there was so much going on for 7 hours straight that it was hard for me to keep up with everything that was going on. Okay, back to PR thing. And get this as close as possible to what's going on. So, super duper ornate. And right now, I guess my biggest concern when it comes to this piece, which if you guys do not know, I have ADHD. It's been proven so since I was a little kid. So hyper fixating on stuff as far as artwork is concerned does happen. So this leads into another interesting segment that when it comes to your work, trying to do a piece, choosing what gets seen, doesn't get seen. And we're going to do the render right here. Get some depth. And just to let you guys know, at some point I will be letting you guys know on social media as far as I've been doing a quick little sell with my sketchbooks. Shows out more because I haven't done that in a while. Might be a good idea to do that again. And I'm able to do some pre-show commissions. Okay, so I think we got Mystique. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I normally never, ever, ever get a chance to draw a Mystique and also never get a chance to draw backgrounds with bullet holes. You're welcome. Okay. Now we're getting into the inking phase. This part is where I kind of like to refer to as inker's regrets. And this goes back to the whole thing of like committing to a line. And basically is that whenever you get around to, I'll do it real quick. Whenever you get around to, going from pencils to inks, and you accidentally do an oopsie on the page, you definitely get stuck in a situation where I like to call it inker's regret, and it sucks. Don't worry, there's always ways that we can fix those lines and move on and still make the piece work and pop. And by the way, if you're wondering what this is actually the drawing cam. It's just like right here near my left eye. So it's almost like it's a random blob going on. So let's just angle this. But I'm not sure if you guys like fantasy comics or not. But swords and sorcery comics like Conan the Barbarian and Solomon Kane and Red Sonja. A few others. Listing off the good ones first. Those things are my bread and butter. Those are the things that I love the most, especially pulp characters like the Phantom, Rocketeer, the Shadow, Doc Savage. Actually, kind of surprised that I have not been asked to do Doc Savage. Yeah. So I think, in spite of not being asked to do that, I'll probably do it once. So, guys in place. One. So if you're wondering why I did like a random curve right here near the nose, it's basically just a shadow uh, leading towards the bridge and the tip of the nose right here, which you can kind of see that already on the camera. Normally, I do like a harder feathering or shadow right there, but for the sake of style, if you want to call it that, I'm going to do right here. And let's, but there are other really awesome sort of stock comics that have been popping out of the woodworks in like the last 2 years or so. And let's see, got this recent one is Frank Frazetta's Death Dealer. That's been, well, for starters, that's not a comic for little kids. Disclaimer right there. But it is definitely a bloody run. And it goes in. Oh, I'm thinking about it. And so I use a variety of a lot of different pens, and I actually did put in the chat near the beginning of the video all the materials that I use. And I use a lot of what's known as technical pens and pens that basically have this, not really like a belt tip, but might as well call it that. From a couple of different companies. The most common ones you can find are either, let's see, focus on this, Pigma Micron or Faber-Castell. Yeah, I use both in a variety of different sizes and stuff like that. Uh, and then, uh, for different kinds of lines, but usually just a straighter kind of line. And I recently fell in love with these probably about 3-4 years ago. Tombow Futosenke pens. I know for a fact that you can pick these up at either Lothlorien or Miners. But they usually come in packs of two. This one is the thinner of the two tips, and it's more of a felt pin nib type tip, and it's supposed to kind of give you, um, varying levels of and stroke and all that sort of stuff on. And then it gets even more advanced right here. This is a Pentel pocket brush, and these things have refillable cartridges to put in out. I might not use this one today. Or, so as you can see, it's an actual brush. Here, we almost dropped that. And for the bigger black areas, the giant Big Bertha Faber-Castell pen. But I am going to be doing something a little bit different as far as the background's concerned. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's see. It's about 7:45. I think we can get this done. Probably close to 8. Let's go. Double check the. This is not right. I think. Basically, I'm only going to focus on also like this. Yeah, let's see. Going back to fantasy and media. I'm not sure if you guys saw the trailer for the Dungeons and Dragons film. I'm not going to watch that because that looks like a lot of fun. And I know there's going to be someone out there that's going to be like, no, my childhood is ruined because of the late 90s, early 2000s film with Damon Wayans. In which case I'm going to say, well, that's your fault. Let's see. So basically doing a bit of a artistic license on this for the sake of time. Say this is probably going to be close enough to get across. Go back to the syncing. if you see me putting axes down in certain areas, this is where we enter an area called spot. It's basically places where you're going to be dropping in black ink. This part is going to be, it separates. Boom, we got it. I'm going to move back once. Order, just sync. So little screw ups right here. Don't worry about it because I'm going to be ending up correcting it. So again, nothing to worry. Like I said earlier, can't always control Z out of one. right. So, got that part out of the way. We're going to be erasing all the pencil stuff, and we're going to be, excuse me, we're going to be dropping in all of the spot-like areas, and hopefully this ink will smudge. But regardless, we have white ink. So if you're wondering what I'm using, it's not Laffy Taffy, even though it's pretty pliable by it, but it's a kneaded eraser. You can find it at basically any hobby shop. So using our brush pen, be filling in some spot blacks and sure, snazzy details. So because it's a mithril tiara headband kind of thing, we want to be trying to give it some kind of glint shading. What trick with brush pens? Patience. Totally botch anything and everything with brush. I've done it plenty of times. And it kind of goes back to my whole thing about space. Near perfect. Because nothing can be absolutely 100%. X. TR reference. What was it? I do apologize for being just a little bit quiet. Just trying to give things extra attention. So usually I listen to music. Completely silent that you guys going on. Okay, this is going to be the interesting messy part. So, it's just without knocking it over. I'm going to be using actual ink. Oh, first time using this stuff live. This is Eon Vortex matte black ink, and I actually did practice stuff probably about a week or so ago, and it's going to be really interesting to work with. So, to protect our picture thus far, I'll be using another piece of paper on top and do this stuff in sections. So that way that we're not accidentally just everything. And I'm gonna quickly look at the chat real quick. Doug, maybe you mentioned this, with the thicker lines at the bottom of things really make things feel solid. Yes, I believe I did say that earlier when I was starting to work on it. And that is basically kind of the premise of it, is to give things some volume. Line weight says a lot about a piece. For the sake of using ink, I'm going to be using these latex gloves that I generally use for a lot of white ink effect stuff, which we will be using that in this piece. So, and I'm just using just the run-of-the-mill round 3 brush. And I actually picked this one up at Low Mill at the little art shop because they had a sale on brushes. And I was trying to find a brush head that had the same kind of thickness and whatever as like my brush head. So there wouldn't be, total loss of stuff done. Of course, also because I am working on a wooden surface, I had this protected with an old game mat, and that way everything is going to be slowly. Mm-hmm. Water set. brush. Here we go. Normally with something like this, I would be using that giant black. Go over an area like this, because I'm feeling a little precarious today. So it's this stuff, try it out. And I'm trying to make sure that I don't have a lot brush, but yeah, just enough to work with it. Not too totally concerned. Sticking within this border, making it do its own thing. But I am very, very concerned about not actually getting to the rest of the piece. Ooh. So it's almost creating a bit of a dry brush effect right here. It's such a great effect. Case before we want to do the back, because it's not going to be straight up black, because we're going to be a little splatter effects. Like so, adjusting. Right. Good. Done. And I just want to thank everyone for sticking around as long as I have with this and talking with me in the chat. It's nice to know that I'm not alone. So, which kind of raises a bit of a question. As far as Lord of the Rings is concerned, do you guys happen to have like a specific favorite character or possibly a favorite villain or monster? If you do, just go ahead and drop that in the chat. So I'm kind of curious. Let's see. It's like Doug's got another question. Does that ink dry fairly quickly? It's looking like it's drying pretty quick. There's still some areas of like wetness that I can see because the light is hitting it from up top. And you can sort of see it on the webcam, but not really. Right? I'm kind of glad that I got the matte black versus the glossy black gloss. It's great on business cards and posters, but it's basically just kind of really care about it. So we got some people dropping in some of their answers in the chat. Let's see. Samwise Gamgee. He is the real hero of Lord of the Rings. Because who cares about Frodo? Let's see here. I have Balrog and Gollum tattoos. Okay, that's awesome. Next time I see you, I definitely want to see him. Getting closer to the finish line. So the funny part is that I'm doing this and I'm thinking about the those Jim Lee live stream drawing videos, and he will just like spurt like a whole thing of ink on the paper and then does the background from there. Um, I am not that reckless. But I think my favorite character uh, in Lord of the Rings, uh, I don't remember the guy's name because it's going to haunt me if I don't get this right, especially since I've been so enamored with the book since I was a small child. Um, Seconds. Boromir, that's who it is. Um, Not Boromir who ends up dying, but Boromir brother, which I know is a weird choice. Um, but I like his character because despite the end of it all, he does end up redeeming himself regardless of it actually being recognized or uh, notified for the entirety of Gondor to see. It's very much an underdog, and I definitely like the character, even though it is kind of tragic. But my favorite villain is actually Balrog. It's just a super awesome, character design that they did with the movie. And if you ever get a chance to watch the Rankin Bass 1970 rotoscope version, you should definitely watch it. Definitely have that. Which speaking of rotoscope, the Frank Frazetta animation Fire and Ice, which was done via rotoscope. I want to say it entered its like 35th anniversary not that long ago, and apparently we're going to be releasing a comic that, if it isn't, the actual storyline of that, then it's going to be within the universe of uh, Fire and Ice, which I'm totally down with that. It's definitely one of those old classic films, with fancy animation. Definitely right up there with the original heavy metal film. There's a lot of rotoscoping going on with that, especially that opening credit scene where guys, the astronaut is launching himself out of the space shuttle with that car, and somehow it doesn't like burn up upon reentry. Which it's the '80s for it. I think if I'm going to be doing more full black backgrounds like this, I'm probably going to need a bigger brush head, probably about a 6 or a 7. But the real question is going to be whether or not get this thing scanned. It's going to digitally edit well, or if it's going to look like you. We shall see. All right, let's look at the chat real quick. David looks good. Thank you, David. And you've been the real VP, cheering me on for years, and I totally dig that. Thank you so much, man. Hobby cartoon is simply great. Agree. True story. I actually have the vinyl um, audio uh, thing of The Hobbit, and it does everything from start to finish on both sides. One of the very few vinyl that I know. There's that one. Well, actually did really well. It actually didn't lead on our little thing, but real quick, I want to close this up. With, a brush real quick. Which I'm gonna do a deeper clean on the brush after the live stream's done and over with. And we are literally near the finish line, guys. Thank you so much sticking around as long as you have. I was actually kind of hoping to get this done in under an hour, and only 20 minutes over. Not too terribly bad. So now we're going to get into let's brush it in. We're going to get into the whitening section of this, and I'm going to be using Dr. I don't know if you guys can see it. That's not okay. Dr. PH Mars Proof White ink, and Eon actually does do white ink. I just haven't bought it. simply because it's a brand new product and I haven't tried it yet, and I had zero issues with the pH mark. Um, so what are you doing? You just grab a run-of-the-mill toothbrush. And real quick, I'm going to hot dog this piece of paper. I'm going to cover up this section right here. So it's kind of going to be our little blast shield, if you will. And what I do is that I dab the tip of the brush inside the ink. There's some there. Then really carefully make sure I have one hand to kind of guard and shape it around and the other to flick. Well, that just kind of lodged it on there. Ah, that's never happened before. All right. Well, that's a good thing that we have some black ink to get over that section. Holy crap, that was a bomb. All right. Which I'm not sure if you guys paid attention to the background of Lothlorien, but got a lot of stardust things. And see what that happened right there? Don't worry about it because we're going to go over that section with black ink anyways, and we're going to fix it right. So, where there is a will, there is always a way. Because I remember when I was, using ink and stuff like that, get to a point where it's just like, I can't fix this. I don't know what to do anymore. Whole piece is ruined, so on and so forth. But not always the case. I mean, yeah, there are definitely moments where it hits in that section of the point of no return. Don't have to do this. Go back to black ink real quick. Let's see here. How do you maintain your ink brush? Are we talking about like cleaning it, or are we talking about just uh, pressure control? Or I'm trying to figure out exactly where we're going with that. Let's see. Get that taken care of. Keeping the brush usable next time. Okay, so aside from using, water to clean off the brush, and of course, drying it off, mineral spirits and stuff like that, it can be used to really deep clean paint and all that stuff off brushes. Um, there is like actual products that is basically like a brush cleaner, whatever it's called. Uh, that stuff I've never used specifically that product. I have used like mineral spirits before. Of course, that stuff is like super, super strong. So be careful. Um, sounds really weird. Gotcha. On that towel. But yeah, that is definitely one of the main ways of just keeping brushes clean, intact is after you get done using them, you know, definitely do the whole water rinse situation. That will definitely help it out. And add some sprays. And for my white pen, I know a lot of people use the jelly roll pens. I used to use them until I just started to not like them anymore. Then I switched over to Uniball Signal. So far, well, now when I'm trying to use it for the one purpose that I need it. Good Lord. These real quick. As you can see, not all hope is lost. Work with this stuff. Takes is just patience and luck. And I'm going to do something kind of interesting real quick. Bob has his happy trees. Tom has his happy paint flip smears. You are right. And so happy little points and sneers and things. Much, all right, guys. I think we got it. I'm about 95% happy with this, which is totally fine, and I can live with this. All right, and of course, last but not least, always, sign work. Boom. All right, gang. Thank you so much for coming out on this first episode. And like I said earlier, beforehand, remember to like and subscribe. And you can also like and follow me at linktree.com, T Price Artworks, which has all my links on social media where you can find me. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, whatever. And then if you want to actually buy my sketchbook Between the Lines or even my tiger prints, you can go to Haven Comics, which is located on Slaughter Road off of Highway 72 in Madison, Alabama. Thanks again, and I will see you guys next Monday.